debut Reflection podcast. Today we have Mattie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. You know, I love to talk about health and fitness, and I'm just happy to be here.
Mattie, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and your day job?
So I am in apple sales. So I actually sell apples, and on the side, I really enjoy fitness, as you know. So boxing, I do a lot of Spartan races, 5Ks. I know with your background, that's just, you know, an average day for you with your long-term races, but.
Well, anyway, so today we'll be talking mostly about neuro-training and how that fits into athletic training in general. But as somebody who's into fitness, you know, what's your definition of neuro-training? When you think training your brain, what does that make you think about?
I think, you know, we put a lot of emphasis on our bodies and training our muscles, but I don't think we always think about the response time. So the mind-body connection is so important. And, you know, that's why I'm, you know, intrigued with what you guys are doing, because I think we don't think about that as much as we should, because, I mean, even you always talk about mind over matter. So if your mind is focused, if your mind is where it's supposed to be, your body is going to follow. So I think that is important.
Yeah, you know, I think whether you're a wide receiver looking for the ball out of the corner of your eye, or you're a fighter recognizing tendencies. I mean, you box. Do you see any, you know, what cognitive or visual processes do you think about when you're maybe doing mitts or you're in the ring? What cognitive and visual processes do you use?
I think you just need to have, you know, that response time, because if you don't, like, if your body will tire, I mean, that's expected. But if you can keep your mind kind of on point and focused, then again, your body will just follow, and your mind doesn't get as tired as your body does. So your body will probably tap out. So I think it's just more important to have that training and have that awareness.
Mm-hmm. And you feel like you have that at the beginning of a fight, or a bout of mitts, or, you know, how's that changed throughout?
I think that
the course of your workout.
Yeah, I think that just goes away throughout the course of the workout, because I'm not training that and I'm not working on that. So that's why I think I lose that.
All right. So throughout the course of a workout, you know, you start fresh, and you know, your mind starts to fade. You start to lose focus. Have you done anything to train your visual cognitive skills, or how do you think about that?
So I haven't done that, but I noticed, you know, after having conversation with you, that when, you know, even for prime example, boxing, that your mind starts to wander. Same thing with yoga. You know, you try to be in the moment, but your mind just wanders. It continues to just go somewhere else. So again, the importance, which I don't always think about, the connection with your mind and making sure that your mind is focused and is able to respond.
Right. And those skills, like your prioritization, your focus, especially under stress, not just your focus when everything's quiet, you know, when you're in a game or you're in a fight, you're trying to focus on a million things at once. Or even Nick, our producer, you've met him. He's a downhill longboarder. You know, you're going. Nick, how fast do you go down the hill?
Top speed was 67.
67 miles per hour.
I don't do that anymore because it's a little risky, but yeah, it's 67.
And he's trying to, you know, figure out when to make a cut or when to slide, and those skills that you use in those split seconds can be trained. And you might know that what we do with our drills at Reflection is we take those individual skills, like your peripheral vision or your reaction time or your focus under stress, and we're able to break them down into drills that you can do just like you would do any other you know, activity during your workout, any other move. You know, whether that's doing mountain climbers for your abs, you can do our mind field drill in order to train your focus. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that's very, you know, cool as well, and food for thought, because you aren't going to always be given a, you know, set up environment of this is what's going to happen. So I think continuing to train your mind for that, to just always be on the go and like be able to respond. That's huge. It's a huge piece of what a lot of, sports are missing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's crazy because when you think back, it used to be that way with strength and conditioning too. I mean, not too long ago, if you were, I don't know, say a soccer athlete, you wouldn't have even thought about doing strength training because you'll be slow, you won't be agile. I mean, you still hear people say that now, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to be bulky or whatever. But like how many fit people do you even know who aren't doing strength training at this point?
Right. Everybody's doing it.
And at some point it used to just be bodybuilders. So, what we've done is we've taken something that the pros used to do and still are doing with visual cognitive training and making it more mainstream. But I mean, do you notice, I'll just go back to boxing for a second, like when you're doing the mitts, how similar that is to some of our drills. I mean, you've seen videos, you played with the product once or twice here or there. Do you see some similarities just intuitively to the way that, say, the mitts work with like our minefield drill, where you have to respond to the targets before they disappear on the screen, and how that would train those same sort of skills?
Yes, and I can totally see that. And even, with the Minecraft, like you can set up different drills. So there's, it's not the same thing repetitively over and over again. So it distracts your mind that you're able to respond differently. So I think that's, and also, very cool about the program as well. Because when we do the mitts, I mean, it's not every day that you go in and you're going to do the same drills and it's going to be the same way, because then your body just goes into autopilot and you just know what to do. So when you're constantly changing it, that just keeps your brain active and helps with the response time.
Well, speaking of training your mind here,
Yeah.
Tell us about these.
These are wild twist apples, and this is what I do to wake up before a workout. It's the best thing.
This and pre-workout?
No pre-workout. Natural pre-workout. What do you think, Nick?
Never had one. Never,
You better dig in.
never had one.
Matt gave it 5 out of 5.
Is this the apple that you? This is the
That's the real one. Real deal.
Probably brain food right here.
very gamey. A good gamey. It's like what the Honeycrisp lacks.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I can taste the tree.
That's a good terminology. Gamey. Gamey for an apple.
So, besides boxing, I mean, what other workouts do you do where you could see neuro-training fitting in?
So I'm actually training for a women's tennis team. And so I can totally see where that would fit in with that. I know, Matt, you're the top tennis person in the back.
I try.
Tell,
Sport.
good sport?
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
What visual cognitive skills do you think matter most for tennis? Like, what drills do you do as being somebody who's more seasoned? What would you tell Mattie she should probably train?
Well, so visual cognitive skills in tennis. I mentioned eye-hand coordination is one. Anticipation is probably the most important. That, at least from my experience and my expertise, really being able to recognize. I mean, even just you throw up that ball for a serve, and there are ways for professional tennis players to be able to anticipate and predict where they're sending that ball. So, you getting ahead of that before the ball even touches the bracket, that's really going to be the best way to stay on top of your game and just get ahead of things. All right, well, I'll let you guys continue.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And as you said, just new skills, balance, coordination.
You do a lot in yoga, which has a big mindfulness meditation side of it. Can you talk about how focus impacts your ability to practice yoga, or how that plays into it, and how you think that ability of focusing and attention applies elsewhere?
Yes. So I actually have a great analogy that they were talking about in one of our yoga practices, and it was Kate's class, and she was talking about how when we're rushing through poses and we think we can't, like there's an instructor and you're kind of flowing and going at their speed, and you sometimes tap out and go in your own speed. And she was saying, now if you were at an airport and you had to get to your flight and you had, say, 15 minutes, she's like, if you had all your luggage and all your bags and you would rush to the airport, like try to get to your gate, she's like, you're not going to make it because you have all this baggage, you have all this extra stuff. But she's like, I guarantee if you didn't have that stuff, you would run, you'd get to the airport, you'd get to your gate, you'd get on the flight, and you'd be fine. So it's kind of the same thing because your mind is bogged down with so much information and you're just not thinking and you're not focused. And so that is why a lot of times with all these different kinds of sports that it's because your mind is all over the place and you're carrying so many different things along with you when you're trying to just focus and hone in on this one thing.
Right. And I guess to some extent, the underlying message there is that those things, all those distractions, all those bags are still there. And especially,
Right.
in a sport, everything is still going on around you, but is it more about kind of dialing in and focusing on what is the task at hand? Or how would you state that?
Yeah, I would think it's like the task at hand, because as we have discussed this whole time is that you cannot set your environment to what you want it to be or what you want it to look like. And you don't even want that. I mean, you're boxing, you're going to a boxing match. That's all about, you don't know what's going to happen. So you need to be, on your top so that you can respond. So that's where, again, the cognitive training comes in, because I think with the cognitive training, as you were mentioning, I feel that if you have that and you are training that, it doesn't really matter what's going on. Your brain is now trained to hone in and do what it is meant to do, and your body will kind of follow with that.
Yeah, similar to in yoga, where if you're doing it 7 days a week, you can just start to flow and your body just knows what to do, and you can check out. If you're training your visual and cognitive skills in that same way, then when you're on the field or on the court, you can do that exact same thing. You just know what to do. Your mind takes over, your eyes are trained, and so you just dial into the task that you're supposed to do, and you spend less time thinking about it and more time just doing.
Right. And I know I've been intrigued, even talking with Nick over the weekend, just his response time, and I mean, you've seen results too, because you have used the program and you've been doing it. So there is obviously, there's results and it works, and it's just something that you have to add into the mix. Like, we train our muscles. That's what we do. Here's the weight, here's what you do. So I think it's all about just getting out there, trying it. And the other thing is, it's not going to hurt you. Like, that's a huge piece as well. It's not going to not be beneficial to you no matter how you look at it.
Right. Even if you don't need it in the moment per se, it's actually a funny story. We started the company when Matt had a concussion. And so we were focused mainly on the wellness side of athletes' brains. And for most of my life, the sports that I've done have been more endurance, swimming, running, etc., just training, and not so much reactive sports. But you and I had both been working out at the same boxing gym, and when I started there, we were already, I guess, 4 years into Reflection, and I immediately noticed how those drills translated directly to boxing. So it was crazy how once you're in a sport where your reaction time and your visual and cognitive skills matter, you just see it instantly. And I think you can really see how the training pays off, because it just feels the same. You're like, oh, doing mitts right now is just like doing minefield, or it's just like doing our big G drill, or it's just like, you just snap into it. Again, going back to yoga, just the same way that you can flow.
Right. And I think too, there's a bigger appreciation of your program because on paper you can see this is what I did last month compared to this is what I did this month. And you can see the progress that you're making. I think a lot of times we can tap out and get really frustrated because sometimes when you're just in the gym and you're training, you don't always see the results, like right away. And so I think it's nice that the program is designed and set up that you see on paper where you're at and know where you need to hone in maybe a little bit more and pay more attention to versus, where you see that you're excelling in certain areas. And I think that is great as well.
I mean, how important in your training is setting goals?
It's very important. I think you have to have goals. I've noticed recently as we were talking that I haven't had goals lately. So I don't really have things set up to look forward to train. And as you know, in the past, I was doing Spartans and I was doing all these different races. So there was always a training plan associated with these different events. And ever since, the change in the world, the events just haven't been going on. And so I've noticed that is something that I need to reflect on and set goals for myself because it is important. Like if you do not have a goal in mind, and some people are more goal oriented than others. I mean, I am just a very to-do list. I got to mark things off. I know, you are very similar in that aspect as well. So setting goals and know what you're working towards and seeing it, like that's kind of what keeps you going. Because even if you don't reach your goal, it's like, okay, well, why didn't I? Or what can I do? What can I adjust to reach this goal? Because you still want to reach your goal. You still want to get there somehow.
Right. And that, that's something that we've been focusing on too, because I think with our product at this point, we do a really great job of showing where athletes are at. You can see on many different factors, how your cognitive performance stacks up to, how you performed in the past. You can track your progress over time, even see how you are on leaderboards. But where we're headed and kind of building on what you said is being able to take your goals, take your sport, your position, and build a training plan that gets you to that outcome and correlate those results, the results that we're capturing in our own data, back to your performance in game.
Yeah, and I love that too. Like I love that it can be customized to you and what your needs are. It doesn't have to be based on the next person. You can just make sure that it's what I need and focusing in on the goals that I'm setting for myself. And I know too, like you were talking about the IndyCar racer. Like there's so many sports and so many things that people do that just me having a general conversation with somebody, like I wouldn't have even thought about that and the importance of an IndyCar racer needing cognitive training.
Mm-hmm. Until you're there, until you're in a sport where you notice that fractions of a second matter.
Right.
All right, Mattie. Well, thanks for joining us on the pod. And, it was great to have you for this debut episode and hope you'll be tuning in as well as we have other customers and people in the sports and fitness industry on as well.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing all the people who come on the podcast and just learning more about what you guys do, and obviously appreciate the opportunity to be here. It is an honor. So thank you very much.
Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.